Welcome to Heartspeak Podcast, episode 60, The Art of Healthy Responsibility. Well, hello, I cannot believe that we are at episode 60. Seems so long ago, and yet somehow these episodes have become richer and richer. I hope you agree. They are coming very much from my own personal journey and things that are happening in the today, in the now. And I love you being my audience and walking with me on my journey, and also your comments. And if there are subjects that you wish me to look at, something that's going on for you, please do send me a message either by Facebook, Instagram, or info@christinepage.com. Just let me know how you are doing and what I can maybe look at as a subject in the future. You can also leave a comment on my website under the podcasts. I love hearing from you. I love hearing how the different subjects, the podcasts are affecting you, and hopefully helping you to be a more whole and healthy individual, and a more joyful one, because that's what life's about. And today, maybe there are things that we feel less joyful about. There are many things that are happening in our world, and I want to look at some of those towards the end of this podcast. But I want to start with responsibility. My goodness, that feels like a heavy one. But it really is coming from the word to respond. What is your response? And Heartspeak is all about responding to our heart, responding to the call of our soul, responding to our intuition. And sometimes we get a bit confused about what is my responsibility and what is someone else's. And am I responding truly just to my needs or my call? Or am I stepping over a line and responding to other people? So that's what I want to look at. And this subject is really close to my heart speak, because I am considered, or I consider myself one of the most responsible people in the world. Basically, because I think I have PhDs in knowing how to rescue people, fix people, respond to people's needs. I have gold stars, and I would challenge anybody who thinks they do it better, because that's what we do. And a lot of this comes from my astrology. Some of you have heard me talk about my astrology and Capricorn in particular. And I have Mars in Capricorn, my North Node, which is my Dharma, and my wound, my Chiron, all in the house or the sign of responsibility. And that means that I have a tendency to think that nobody does a job better than I do. And if you want a job well done, do it yourself. And that having lists and having plans and having schedules and being in control is a very good thing for me and for other people around me. Of course, that's my belief, and it's not always true. So I'm looking at this particularly because at present time, Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn, is sitting on my Chiron, my wound. So it's bringing up for me all my issues about being irresponsible. And if you've ever heard me speak, I talk about how I'm a very responsible person. I believe in being dutiful. If I commit to something, I do it. I'm very dedicated. And what I tend to attract into my life is people who are irresponsible. That's a joke. But what then happens, I spend all my life trying to change them so they can be as miserable as I am about being responsible. Again, another joke. But this is my mirror. Remember, I talk about attracting people who are trying to show you another part of yourself. So that when I'm around people who are not responsible, it really fires me up. And that's something that's just recently happened. When I'm not in control of the situation, or let me say, well, I am in control of the situation, I'm okay. I can organize people, I can go into the heart of things that are very chaotic and sort them out. I used to do that when I was a doctor in ER or casualty. And I like that power to be able to see the bigger picture, sort everybody out, and everybody do what I say. Okay, there's that part as well. But recently I've been in a situation where the responsibility wasn't mine. It was in the hands of other people. And that made me very nervous because I couldn't organize. I couldn't step in, partly because I didn't know the subject, but I also knew that I had to learn to trust other people knew where they were going, or to trust other people's expertise, or to trust other people's vision of what I was asking them to do. And that isn't easy, because it brought up for me old memories of where I believed other people knew what they were doing, and they, I have to say, did not move through on that expertise. And it really brought to my mind of how important it is to trust others. Sometimes I feel that when people get sick, or when we look at people who perhaps we feel are less able than us, there's a tendency to think, well, I'm the one that can bring you into a more able and more healthy state. But as you know, I teach about how this illness is the soul's message. And sometimes we need to be sick, or sometimes we need to be disabled in order to be able to move in a different direction. Or sometimes whatever's going on for the soul, we may not understand or appreciate or even think about how that would work for them, but it's not our business. I sometimes say that if someone's lying in a gutter, it's not for me to know why the soul has put them there. All I can do is, hey friend, can I help you? And if not, you need to move away. Not my job. And I've had to learn that inside everybody is a soul. And that if I can say, hey soul, can I help? And if the soul says, no, we're okay as we are, back off. Because it's not for me maybe to know, or maybe I can't even start to perceive what reason that soul has for that part of the journey. That's a very big statement right at the very beginning of this podcast. But I wanted you to understand that responsibility is many factors, and these are the factors I want to look at today. It isn't just a simple case. And sometimes we can delude ourselves that we know what's good for someone else, or even what's good for us. Many a time, if you think back, when you thought, well, you were doing the right thing, in essence, it might have been easier for you to have just stopped and waited rather than moving ahead. So the Capricorn energy, as I've often described, is very dutiful, very responsible. It is the goat fish. And this goat fish is very ancient. It's like ancient wisdom. And it means that the goat fish can go very deep and very high. So Capricorn is about integrity, about wholeness. And there are times where I will move away from my wholeness, from my center, in order to follow a path that I think I should do, or I need to do, or it's my duty to do. But it's not necessarily in responsible to me. It's responsible to my mindset that tells me this is what I need to do. That makes sense? So if I'm responding to my mind, or my thinking, or my programming, that may not be the best thing for me, and it may not be the best thing for other people. As I say, maybe by standing back and trusting other people know what they're doing, they will respond in a different way than when we jump in. I jump in. I will take ownership of that. So this ability to really listen within, to trust yourself, to respond to the deepest call of your soul, is what I want to talk about. So here we go. There's a level of responsibility that we might say is factual. So we make a contract. We make a contract with someone to do something around the house, a contractor, and we ask them to fulfill that contract. There are more and more contracts today because people see loopholes, or people say, well, that wasn't my responsibility and that wasn't. And the sad thing is we now have so many contracts, so many insurances against something that you perceived would happen and it doesn't. And that's the state of the world today. The second level, however, is often where we are in contract with someone close to us, a friend, a partner, children, parents. What is our contract with them? And many times you might say to me, well, I don't have a contract with my parents. They're my parents, or I don't have a contract with my friends. Well, that's fine. I mean, I wouldn't ask you to sign that, although some people have prenups, etc. But there is a level of what am I expecting from my partner? And nowadays, more and more people, when they get married or they commit to a relationship, are signing or making their own contracts. What is it I expect from you, and what is it you can expect from me? That's just as important. What am I committing to, and what are you committing to? And when my husband and I met, and we weren't even in relationship then, but on our very first date, I said, this is what I want from a relationship: respect, honor, and support. I didn't ask, will you love me? Will you take care of me? I wanted those things because they were very important to me in a relationship. Respect me for who I am, honor what I know, what my teachings are, and support me in many different ways. And he has lived up to that every step of the way. But we also made a contract to each other that whatever or wherever our soul takes us, even if it's away from each other, we will hold each other to our soul's journey. And we're doing that. And that freed us up. It said, I am committed to holding you to your soul's journey. And I hope maybe I can pass that on to some of you, that honoring of someone else's journey that may be separate from you, or it may be committing more, because it often in relationships, we are being called to commit more fully to a relationship, not necessarily to leave it. Leaving is sometimes the easier option. And so in friendships, maybe it's important to know what it is your friend wants from you and what it is you're committed to do. I remember years ago, I had a friend who I asked her, what does it mean to you to have a friend? And she said, it's someone I can call on day or night and they will come to me. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't be that type of friend. Practically, I travel. Practically, I've been a doctor on call for 25 years. I don't choose to lie awake and jump at anybody else's call. Now you might say, that's very mean, but I had to be honest. That wasn't the type of person I was, and it's not the type of friendship I want. I want someone who I will be there if they really need me, but I don't want to commit to letting someone down. There's my sense of over-responsibility. But that fear of letting someone down, I need to be honest with what I can do and what I can't. And maybe that's something you want to look at. What is the contract you have with your friends? And then we get to our family. And there's an implied contract with our parents, with our children, with our siblings. I'll often see that when our parents die, and this certainly happened to me, you make a new contract with your siblings, because no longer are you a child of these parents. You're now people, friends, people who live around each other, and you have to say, well, how or why would we relate now that our parents are no longer there? I just wanted to put that idea in. But the implied contract to a parent is there. I often hear people say the reason I had children was that they would take care of me in their older life. That isn't something I know because I, A, don't have children, and B, don't have parents anymore. But the fact of the matter is, I hear that many times. It's my duty, it's my responsibility towards my parents. And hey, I'm all for that. Again, misresponsibility would go with that. But I often feel that this like respect needs to be earned. We can't just respond because this is our duty. It has to be something that we do because we're responding to our desire to meet your needs. And that cannot come from, I want to be seen as a good daughter or a good son, or I want them to think that I'm a nice person. I know that's what many of us end up doing, but it's a case of what would I do as someone who lived next door to me, or a neighbor, that I could say, how does my soul want to meet this soul in their time of need? How can I turn up? These are big questions, I know, but just going along with an idea doesn't always work. I remember as a GP, a general practitioner, I used to hear people say, I'm going to visit my mother out of duty. And I used to think, oh my goodness, never visit me out of duty. I can't think of anything worse. oh, I've got to go and visit her today. And maybe that's all you expect, or someone would come and visit you because they should. There's got to be something more to me and to you that would want someone to visit because they wanted to visit, not because of duty. When there's that sense of I'm forcing people to visit me, that's got to feel really bad. That's got to feel in your soul that, and your heart, that your level of self-confidence and self-value is low. Honor yourself. Honor yourself and say, I want to be visited because someone likes being around me, not because they should. And so finding that way in which you can visit, and maybe it's not every week at the same time. Maybe it's when you feel that you are responding to the call of their soul, to the general love of another human being, someone who you say, I want to do this. Maybe you want to do it because it will make you feel better when they're not around. But do it because this is responsive to your inner needs, not necessarily trying to feed someone else's. Very difficult subject. And when it goes the opposite way, I think it's even tougher. I believe that if you're choosing to have children, and it is a choice, you're choosing to have the sex that provides the forefront, the atmosphere for having children, there is a responsibility that goes with that. And whether it's a 5-year responsibility, a 10-year, a lifetime, I think it has to be, I chose to have these children, they are my responsibility. And first and foremost, which is why I mentioned 5 years, to feed them, to nurture them, to take care of them, to suckle them, to bring them to your breast, make them secure so that at 5 they can step out into the world. And I'm so saddened when I hear people say, I had to parent my parents. As soon as I came out the womb, I was responsible for them. They weren't there for me. And maybe you wanted more. I'm not saying it's always the truth, where maybe we wanted more than they could give. But a little bit of a hug, nurturing, food, encouragement, safety, I don't think that's too much to ask. And that's something that I think every child deserves. And of course, that's not necessarily the case. And therefore, when I hear people say, well, my mother was never there for me, but I'm going to be there for her in her dying days, that's your choice. That's your choice, not your obligation. And again, it's not, she did this for me, therefore I'll do it for her. But it's, again, don't kid yourself that keep going back to someone is going to change the way they see you. I call it going back to the empty well or the dry well. Sometimes the dry breast. Why you keep doing it? Again, don't stop it. Ask yourself, what part of me needs to keep going back there knowing I'm not going to get a different result? What is my responsibility? The responsibility is to myself. And if I'm shooting on myself, I should do it, I must do it. Maybe you say, you know, I don't know what I want to do, but I know what I don't want to do. I've used that one quite a lot myself, not necessarily with parents, but with friends, with people who I consider authority figures, where I feel, oh, I really should go. And I feel, well, I know I'm only doing it because I want them to approve of me, maybe. So I say, look, I'm not going to come. And they say, well, what are you going to do instead? I go, well, I don't know what I'm going to do instead, but I know what I'm not going to do. Because it's not honoring you for me to come just because I'm looking for something, your approval, your love, whatever. I hope this is helping you. I know it's like untwining a ball of wool, but we need to do that sometimes. We need to ask ourselves those difficult questions. Why am I doing this? What is it that I'm responding to? I don't think I can necessarily say you're saying, wow, I can't wait because I so enjoy this, or I have pleasure from this, or nurturing. But I would use nurturing of the soul. Do I feel uplifted? Do I feel that I'm honoring myself and I'm honoring the other person by visiting them, seeing them, whatever it is? And I think for children, again, I'm going to admit I don't have children, but one of the things that I think children want more than whether it's a roof over their head and money coming in and all the things that money can buy, is they want a role model. They want a role model that says, this is how I want you to live your adult life. I think that's the best gift you can give any child. And believe me, they're watching you. They're watching how you live your life. You are their mirror. You are their role model. And you are also the role model of how they will see future relationships. How do you relate to your partner? How do you relate to friends? How do you relate to yourself? If you're a woman and you're a martyr and you don't take care of yourself, you don't nurture yourself, that's how we grow up. My mother we came from a line of martyrs where we'd say, I'm fine, I'm okay, you don't need to help me. Well, that was fine, and that might have been a very Christian way of being, but it didn't necessarily help me to take care of me. And I think my mother is saying to me, don't do what I did, do something different. So learning through role models is very important. And if you are a parent, be the best parent, the best role model you can be. That isn't always about smothering someone with love or worrying about them. It's about how do I want them to go out into the world. So we've covered friends and family. Now we go to the deeper levels. You think, well, this was already deep. How can I go deeper? It's about how do I take care of other people's emotions? And I've recognized I've become responsible for other people's emotions. Not because they asked me, but because their emotions were challenging me. Their unhappiness, their moods, their anger. I would jump in to try and smooth the waters, calm everybody down. I've done it since I was a child, a baby. Because I'm so intuitive and psychic, I picked up on what was happening. But in truth, the picking up of what was happening was affecting me so deeply, making me so unhappy, that I jumped in to fix the problem so we could all calm down. Anybody recognize that? Yes? So how do we respond in a healthy way to what's going on inside someone? First of all, we have to understand how sensitive we are, how psychic we are. Do we jump up and step in before we even know what we're doing? How many of us have a fixer in us, a pleaser in us, a harmonizer in us that goes, okay, I'm here. And how many of us have done that because it calmed the waters of chaos? But really what it did was stop people moving. Sometimes people need to be unhappy to make the moves. Sometimes we need to feel very deeply before we feel ready to change. So what I've had to do is to say, okay, I feel what's going on, and I will now name it to the person. Hey, I'm picking up you're not happy. Now, if they then say, rubbish, I'm fine, you have to stop holding that energy and hoping that person will change. You then have a choice. Do I stay with this individual in the room, or do I stay with this individual and distract myself or take myself out of the situation, just pull back my energy field? Or do I have to say to them, you know, you're not in a very happy space and I'm finding this really difficult. I'm going to go and do something, and when you're feeling better, then come and meet me. As we would do a child when they're having a temper tantrum. You see, we need to be aware that just because we may distract ourselves, and that's why I'm saying that's not always a good method. You might do something, but your body is being bombarded by the energy around you, even if your mind is somewhere else. So saying to yourself, I'm not responsible for your feelings. I trust you that you know what to do with your feelings. I trust you that your soul knows what you're doing. And I'm going to not feed into those feelings by being angry at you or trying to fix your feelings. I'm going to honor you, but I'm choosing not to wait around or stay in the same room or, as I say, feed the addiction to these feelings. Use those feelings you're asking the person to do to help you to change. But if you choose to sit in them, that's not where I choose to sit. Now, you may have a different solution to this, but I'm wanting just to offer my solution because I feel that it's not good for us to just either try and clear somebody else up or to stay in some situation that isn't healthy. Because I'm meeting so many people. Now, I'm not asking you to leave the world, but so many people at the moment are feeling so overwhelmed with all the emotions going on that they're saying, oh, I can't take it. I'm trying to fix the world. I'm trying to heal humanity. And really, that's not your job. Your job isn't to heal humanity. Your job is not to fix the world. Because when it comes down to a hologram, remember my hologram, the world out there is also a reflection of you. And you might say, no, I'm not like that. So once again, I say to you, what are the 3 words you would use to describe how you see the world? And then ask yourself, where is that in me? Or what is that helping me to experience in myself? Now that's a huge lesson. But when we become overwhelmed with what we consider is going on in the world, I'm sorry to say we just create more of the same problem. We're projecting out into the world more of the fear, more of the anxiety. So find ways, if you are getting overwhelmed by what's going on in the world, find ways to acknowledge things that you can control. Not getting overwhelmed. That's the quickest way of lowering our immune system. What can you control? You can look out at the sky and the sun and you can smile at it and say, it's there. You can look at the moon. You can hear the birds sing. You can feel the ground under your feet. You can choose to enjoy your food. You can enjoy your people around you. Give them a hug, give them a smile. Find something to laugh about. Be there with each other, be present. These are things that bring you back into control. What can I control in my world? And there are many things you control. Go for a walk. What can you do? You can walk, you can swim, you can bath, you can dance, you can eat. And they're things that actually enhance who you are. If you're then living in a situation that really doesn't encourage that, then you also have a choice. Yes, you can put white lights around you, around others, but remember, it's really about teaching you to have healthy boundaries. I am not responsible for your needs. I'm not responsible for your journey. All I am here to do is to respond to how I want to be in relationship with you. That's all I can do. My choice is how I respond. When we become a victim to something, our immune system drops. When we make choices, we have a healthy responsibility. Make sense? This has been a very deep, deep podcast. And so I just want to move on to something that is affecting us all at the moment, which is the coronavirus. And I wanted just to talk a little bit about this. All the things I've spoken about enhancing the immune system are what I want you to look at now. Because there's so much spread of media, fear, shame, isolation. All the things that are happening out there in the world, and we're being told to do, isolate yourself, don't meet other people, don't talk to anybody. It could happen. These are ways in which we can find our immune system lowering and lowering. And I can speak about many things about how I think this virus is affecting us in the world. You remember I've also talked about how Saturn and Pluto are still in Capricorn and how the old world, the old guard are trying to hold on to control, where the new world and the new guard are coming, and this is not full of fear. So just please hear me and maybe spread the word that this is been always said that these things would happen, whether it's the locusts in Africa, the floods in Britain, the fires in Australia. Things are happening around the world and they are causing us to go into fear. And I'm wanting you to recognize the more you connect with the sky, the birds, other individuals, in a loving and smiling way, the stronger your immune system, the more we'll get through this together. We need to surf the waves of change by being rooted into Mother Earth. And I've done different exercises with you, putting the magnets on the soles of your feet, the magnet in Mother Earth, pull you into Mother Earth, develop your roots in her. She's going through changes. She's not angry with humanity. She doesn't have a care about us, but she is saying, journey with me. We'll get through this together. And what is a virus? A virus is a little section of information, RNA, DNA. very different from a bacteria. We don't know where viruses come from. Some people talk about them coming from outer space, the cosmos. Some people say they're man-made. Some people say they're already in the earth. All of those are probably true. But let's accept that a small section of information is embedded into a virus. And it's here to change consciousness. Not always for the good. I mean, I'm saying it's no different than if you go on the internet, you can pick up information that inspires you, and there's information that doesn't. And that's your choice. So I want you to recognize is this a piece of information that I want to bring into my body or not? Now you might say, well, I don't want a cold, don't want the flu. Viruses are everywhere. And a healthy immune system is one that makes a distinction between what is good for me and what isn't. And that healthy immune system means having a good state of I, me, not being responsible for everybody else, not being out there for everybody else, but what nurtures me? What brings me joy? That isn't being selfish. It's saying, does this bring me closer to myself? Does this relationship enhance who I am? Does this teaching, this way of thinking, enhance who I am? Or does it take me away from myself? So viruses are small pieces of information. We often talk about something going viral on the internet. And we all go, wow, it went viral. Well, some of those stories or all of those stories, or all those pictures will impact us. We don't always realize that. It's not just that we have a laugh, it impacts our psyche. So we have to be more mindful of what information is impacting us and how are we handling that information. So please, the virus is out there. Viruses have always been out there. Pieces of information are all over the world at the moment. Choose what pieces of information you wish to take into your psyche, your body, and choose which ones you're saying no to. Our body has a very good natural defense. It's called antibodies. And when we develop antibodies, we're actually saying, I know who you are, no thank you. So it's not just like, oh, come on in. It's saying, I see you, I know you. This is what I want you all to experience, that sense of knowingness. I know who you are, I see who you are, no thank you. So my dear friends, what makes a healthy immune system? Smiling, laughing, friendship. Do not allow all of this isolation methods to get into your soul. If you have to talk to each other via some means of communication where we can see each other, touch each other, love each other, that's the healthiest way of staying healthy. And have that response, that healthy responsibility towards Mother Earth. See her beauty, feel her love. See and feel the sun on your body. If it's cold, wrap yourself up and feel the cold on your skin. We're all going through different states, but recognize it's not because we are not loved. Follow your heart, come back to your heart. That's the truth. Know yourself in your heart. Until next time. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Heart Speak podcast with Dr. Christine Page. Remember to check out other episodes in the podcast archive section on www.christinepage.com. And do share with friends, family, and colleagues. Join us next time for another edition of Heart Speak.